Hello everyone, it's your entertained cyber new type, the Dapper Bard. Today, we get an episode where stuff happens, but it isn't very well thought out and really shows off just how daft the writers actually are. Worse yet, it really feels like this all should have happened about 10 episodes ago. As I predicted, we are going to rush our way directly to the end. So let's break down this week's train wreck. Our cold open has Gyul and Miorine getting ready to take a shuttle to Earth. Mio is nervous while Gyul seems calm. Their bodyguard shows up for some comic relief. We also see Prospera planning something in the background. After the opening, we see the Earth dorm worrying about Mary Suletta. This would mean so much more if any of these stock placeholders were actually characters. We then see Martin cry like a bitch with the gal who caught him saying that he betrayed Nika. I guess I should care, but Martin's only personality trait is whining, and he has had no major story impact. We didn't even see him report Nika, so again we have a tell and don't show moment. If anything, his storyline is just filler. As the dorm head, he should have had a much bigger role in the story. That way, his betrayal would actually have impact. Moving on, we see Miorine and her entourage go to the meeting while Shattuck watches and waits. Meanwhile, Belle avoids being intimidated by the security lady, who claims that they might be putting up actions against the Bennett group for illegal activity. Back to the negotiations, Gyul leaves after being reminded of his past Earth encounters, while Miorine attempts to make an offer to the Earth government, I think. They flat out reject her offer and demand all Spacians leave Earth. At this stage, they talk about all the various atrocities committed against Earth. It's a good dramatic moment, but it should have happened much sooner in the series to help set up the stakes. The brief cuts to problems on Earth thus far haven't built up enough tension for the failing negotiations to have any real meaning. We get a brief cut to the same room where we see Elon, Nika, and the rest of that group. I have no idea where this room is supposed to be. I'm guessing the Grassley dorm, but they never actually said where they are during their lockdown. More than that, we always see them in the same room. I guess they just live there? Do they sleep on that floor? What do they eat? Or do they have their own rooms and just hang out together even though none of them seem to tolerate each other? Anyhow, there's an emotional outburst to remind us that these characters are feeling emotional tension. We then cut back to Miorine, who gives a counter-offer. The negotiations don't go as planned, but the Earth representative guy agrees to suspend the protesting until the election is over. Then he will negotiate with the new Bennett president. So that was super easy, barely an inconvenience. Introducing what should be a big problem, but solving it minutes later is the kind of half-assed writing that leads me to seeing G-Witch merchandise on discount at convention dealer halls. Then we cut to the sad and hungry Mary Suletta. The show builds up tension to see if she eats. Wow, I wonder if the hungry person will actually eat. Ugh. The Earth dorm is happy to join her for a late dinner before Martin arrives, because I guess he knew they were gathered? Martin tells the group what he did, and the dorm has mixed reactions. But it's all good in the end, because why have any interesting interpersonal drama or tension? Getting back to Gyul, he has a conversation with the boy from episode 15. In the conversation, they talk about Grassley Academy, where they take Earth orphans and train them, just like what happened with Shattuck and his angels. This academy should have been brought up long before now. It could have been a good excuse for a Shattuck flashback that might explain his motivations better. More than that, it could reinforce some of the non-existent themes that this show should have had. Dropping it now is just an excuse to lead to the major revelation of this episode. That being when the boy also refers to the prince. And that gets Gyul's bodyguard worked up, because it's Shattuck's nickname amongst the Bennett group, which means Shattuck is dumb enough to use his nickname as his code name when dealing with a terrorist organization. Does no one in the show have an IQ higher than their shoe size? Yul gets pissed off and heads back to space to find the evidence to take down Shattuck, which I guess makes sense because if Shattuck hadn't ordered an attack on the plant, Yul's dad would be alive, and the refugee camp that Yul was brought to wouldn't have been destroyed, so at least his motivation is moving forward. The reveal that Shattuck is the prince only shocks Yul because, well, anyone else paying attention already knows it. If they wanted to be a real shock moment for the viewer, the hints should have been more subtle. If they didn't care if the viewer was shocked, then they should have given us more backstory. Either way, at least Yul now has a mission, and we are connecting plot threads very, very slowly. After that, Prospera unleashes her evil scheme. She uses Aerie to hack the other machines and cause a massacre. At the same time, Investigator Lady informs Belle that Oak's Earth still exists and has been plotting revenge. At least this explains where Prospera got all her resources if the survivors of the old company started up again on Earth as part of a 21-year-long revenge plan. Untying that knot is a headache I don't want to deal with just yet. But why did Prospera take control of the guard mobile suits? Why did she kill those people? It won't help her develop Quite Zero. She has nothing to gain by ruining the negotiations. We don't see the machines specifically target Miorine, so it isn't an assassination attempt. Raising tensions between Earth and space doesn't fit into her plan, at least as we know it. Is this just Prospera being evil for the sake of being evil? Normally when someone does something drastic in a story, it has a reason for it. And again, we have characters acting the way the writers need them to act instead of having their established motivations lead to their behavior in a story. I'm sure we'll get a weak explanation for this very soon, but there's nothing they can come up with that will make this work based on what has been established with Lady Prospera. It was just another scene to try to shock the audience, and I guess to show off what kind of power Aerie and Prospera have access to. We finish up the episode with a slew of quick scenes, where Belle and Investigator Lady get attacked, Miorine evacuates, we see numerous characters react to the attack, and finally, Mary Suletta realizes that Ariel did not betray her, but instead was trying to save her from the terror their mother would unleash. On its own, this isn't a bad thing, because it recontextualizes a previous scene to fit in with Ariel's established personality. However, since this is essentially Miorine's reasoning for cutting things off with Suletta, it just shows how big of hacks the writers are. They couldn't come up with two different reasons? No, everyone has to prevent Mary Suletta from facing difficulties and use the same reasoning. Yes, Miorine didn't know how violent things would get, but we get two characters doing the same thing for just about the same reason. This is so lazy, it is insulting to the viewer. We close out with Miorine stating that this is all her fault. And in many ways, yeah, but not really. This show is so dumb, it kind of hurts. There are some good ideas here, but the incompetence of the writers boggles the mind. After seeing this episode, I was reminded of Alien 3. It was considered the worst of the Alien movies because of the many flaws it has. That title has since been moved to other movies. However, this reputation was due to the many behind-the-scenes problems this film had before it was made. The behind-the-scenes issues took what could have been an interesting sequel and turned it into a sloppy, boring, and slightly insulting mess. I don't know the behind the scenes for Witch from Mercury, but either they are a total mess, or Sunrise just let their staff do whatever they wanted with no oversight. Considering how much money is made from Gundam merchandise, it would be stupid of Sunrise to not make sure they are producing the best series possible. Merchandise based on AU series from the 90s still sell out in a flash. Thus, making a good series is key to keeping as many revenue streams open as possible. Now that the initial hype for the show has faded, no one is buying Witch merchandise. Yet, Classic Gundam, Wing, and Seed items still sell out in a blink. That fact alone is reason enough for me to drop this series, but that would be unfair to those who've come this far with me. To you, my loyal viewers, thank you for being here. Let's race to the end together, because until you know exactly how bad something is, you can't explain to other people why they should avoid it. Thank you for watching, and until next time, I'll see you at the tavern.